Welcome to the Oddcast. In this episode, we travel back to a hot August night in 1955, to a small, isolated farmhouse in Christian County, Kentucky. This is the story of the Hopkinsville Encounter, a case that remains one of the most bizarre and contested in the annals of UFO lore. It's a story of a family under siege, of strange, otherworldly creatures, and a night of terror that would forever change their lives and add a new, peculiar chapter to the ever-growing file of the unexplained. It was August 21st, 1955. The Sutton family was gathered at their farmhouse near the small community of Kelly. It was a typical Sunday evening. Inside the house were 11 people in total, including family and friends. The quiet of the rural night was first broken at around 7 p.m. Billy Ray Taylor, a friend of the Suttons, went outside to fetch some water from the well. As he stood under the vast Kentucky sky, he saw something that made him stop in his tracks. A bright, metallic object streaking across the sky, trailing a rainbow-colored exhaust. He watched as it seemed to descend and land somewhere in a gully behind the farmhouse. Understandably excited, and perhaps a little unnerved, he rushed back inside to tell the others. At first, no one took him seriously. An hour passed. The family dog began barking furiously outside. This was unusual enough to pique the curiosity of Elmer Lucky Sutton and Billy Ray. They grabbed their shotguns and went to the back door to see what was causing the commotion. What they saw would become the stuff of legend. Approaching the house from the darkness of the fields was a small, humanoid figure. It stood no more than 3.5 feet tall. Its head was oversized and round, with large, pointed ears. Its eyes were huge and seemed to glow with a faint, yellowish light. Its arms were long, almost reaching the ground, and ended in hands with what looked like talons. The creature's body was described as being a silvery, metallic color, and it moved with a strange, swaying motion, as if wading through water. As the creature got to within 20 feet of the back door, the men's fear turned to action. Lucky Sutton raised his shotgun and fired. The sound of the blast echoed through the night. The pellets struck the creature with a sound that witnesses later described as being like shooting a metal bucket. The being flipped over in the air and then scrambled away into the darkness. Believing they had repelled the intruder, the men went back inside. But their ordeal was far from over. Moments later, another one of the creatures appeared in a side window. They fired through the screen, and again, the creature was knocked backward before disappearing into the night. This was the beginning of a terrifying siege that would last for several hours. The family, now in a state of high alert, turned off all the lights and huddled together. They would see the small, goblin-like figures peering through windows, their glowing eyes being the most prominent feature in the darkness. At one point, one of the creatures was on the roof, scratching and clawing. Another time, a clawed hand reached down from the overhang of the porch and touched Billy Ray Taylor's hair before he was pulled back inside by the others. The family continued to fire their weapons whenever a creature presented itself. They estimated there were anywhere from 12 to 15 of these beings surrounding their home. Each time a shot found its mark, the strange metallic thud would ring out, and the creature would fall, only to get back up and scurry away, seemingly unharmed. This apparent invulnerability to their gunfire only added to the family's terror. After what felt like an eternity, there was a lull in the attack. Seeing their chance, the entire group of 11, including the 7 children, piled into their 2 cars and sped off towards the nearest town, Hopkinsville, to get help. They burst into the police station just before midnight, their faces etched with genuine fear. The officers on duty that night would later attest to the family's terrified state. They weren't drunk, and they certainly weren't joking. A convoy of law enforcement, including local police and state troopers, escorted the shaken family back to their farmhouse. When they arrived, the scene was quiet. The investigators found evidence of the firefight. Spent shotgun shells littered the ground, and there were bullet holes in the walls and window screens. They also noted a strange, greenish glow in the woods behind the house, but its source could not be determined. However, of the creatures themselves, there was no sign. No bodies, no blood, no footprints. The police left around 2:15 a.m., but the terror wasn't over for the Suttons. Shortly after the authorities departed, the creatures returned. The family witnessed their glowing eyes in the darkness once more. The second siege, however, was shorter, and the beings finally disappeared for good as the sun began to rise. The next day, the story of the little men of Kelly Hopkinsville was all over the local and national news. The press descended on the small Kentucky community. It was in one of these early reports that the creatures were dubbed Little Green Men, a moniker that would stick in popular culture, despite the family's insistence that they were a silvery, metallic color. The Air Force's official UFO investigation, Project Blue Book, did look into the case. Their official conclusion? A hoax. They attributed the incident to the effects of excitement and misidentification of natural phenomena. Over the years, skeptics have offered more detailed explanations. The most prominent theory is that the family, in a state of heightened anxiety, misidentified a pair of great horned owls. These large birds have yellow eyes, can be aggressive in defending their nests, and have feather tufts that could be mistaken for ears. Their hooting and screeching could have been misinterpreted, and in the dim light, their shape could have appeared otherworldly. The initial sighting by Billy Ray Taylor is often explained away as a meteor. However, those who believe the family's account point to several inconsistencies with the owl theory. Would a family of country folk, familiar with local wildlife, mistake owls for alien beings? And what about the metallic sound the bullets made when they hit the creatures? The sheer number of witnesses and the duration of the encounter also make it a difficult case to dismiss outright. The Sutton family, for their part, never sought fame or fortune from their experience. In fact, they were reportedly overwhelmed by the attention and ridicule, and they eventually sold the farmhouse and moved away. They stuck to their story for the rest of their lives, their terror that night being the one undeniable fact in a sea of speculation. The Kelly Hopkinsville Encounter remains a classic, a cornerstone of UFO literature. It's a story that has it all: a close encounter, physical interaction, multiple witnesses, and an official investigation. Whether it was a genuine encounter with extraterrestrial life, a case of mass hysteria fueled by misidentification, or something else entirely, we may never know for certain. But on that August night in 1955, for the Sutton family, the monsters were very, very real. Until next time, stay curious.